Live?
We're live.
We are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another NuView Trust Company Wednesday workshop. Got a brand new topic for you guys today, which I'm really excited about. We're going to talk about investing in cryptocurrency using your self-directed IRAs. It is one of the hottest topics around. I know cryptocurrency has been around for a long time, but I would say a lot of our calls these days are people calling in asking about using their retirement accounts, using their IRAs, rollover IRAs, Roth IRAs, HSAs, and how can they use those accounts to buy cryptocurrency. I've got a very special guest on with me today, and we'll talk about who he is and what he does and how that's pertinent to you guys, especially if you're NuView Trust account holders. But let's just dive into it and talk about self-directed IRAs real briefly for people who might be watching this for the first time. So before we get into it, a reminder what NuView Trust Company serves to you as a potential investor. NuView Trust Company is a self-directed IRA company. We're based in South Dakota, but we also have an administrative office here in Orlando, Florida. And what we do is we act as a custodian for people who have retirement accounts that want to invest in alternative assets. It's much different than investing with your IRA at Fidelity, because those are guys that sell investments. We're at NuView Trust Company. We don't sell investments to our clients. Our clients have freedom to choose any investment they want to make within their retirement account, and NuView Trust Company simply acts as the custodian. So we don't give tax, legal, or investment advice, nor do we sell investments, but we do custody the same types of accounts you would see at other big banks. So that's just our disclaimer. Got to get that out of the way. Let's talk about what a self-directed IRA is. First, for anybody hearing this for the first time, or maybe you've gone to some real estate groups or some investment groups and you've heard this term self-directed IRA. Very important. Self-directed is just a marketing term. It's not a type of IRA at all. IRAs are IRAs are IRAs, like what I like to say. IRAs were all started back in 1974, and you had the ability to invest in all the same things since day one, 1975. So what that includes is an IRA can hold any type of asset outside of two: life insurance contracts and collectibles. So you can hold any asset within an IRA that you want outside of those two investments. You just have to find a company that's willing to administrate your IRA for the investment you want to hold. So what we do is we hold alternative assets, like I said, but the term self-directed, it's just a marketing term. Don't let that confuse you. We have traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, no different than any other company. The benefits of a self-directed IRA are real wide-reaching. First, a self-directed IRA allows you to invest in things outside of the public market. Most people are just so used to investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and CDs because that's where their options are limited to based on the company that administrates their IRA. When you find out that you can use an IRA to invest in nearly anything, you are allowed to diversify your overall investment portfolio into things outside of the traditional markets. Having a self-directed IRA allows you to invest in things that might be tangible, like real estate, promissory notes secured by real estate, and even what we're talking about today, which is cryptocurrency. All of these asset types are considered alternative assets. You're allowed to invest in them. You just have to find a company like NuView and have an IRA here that we can hold those assets and custody those assets on your behalf. The benefit of using an IRA is really the tax savings. This is one of the biggest things that I think a lot of crypto investors are missing out these days. I follow a lot of crypto threads. I follow a lot of crypto groups. Not that I'm heavily in crypto myself. I do own some crypto, but I like to see what's going on in the market. I like to see what people are talking about. And I will tell you, people are starting to realize that you still have to pay taxes on your gains investing in crypto if you're investing as a person. That's no different than investing in anything else. So if you are a guy or a gal that's looking to make large gains, as we all are, you want to look at how much taxes do I want to pay on these gains? Do I want all this investment in my name where I have to pay ordinary income tax on everything and give up part of my profit to Uncle Sam every single year? Or is there some money that I can put in my IRA and have some of these investments grow completely tax-free? You have the ability to grow money exponentially faster by growing it tax-free than taxable as an individual. So, and it's not that you have to choose one versus the other, is what I tell a lot of clients. You don't have to choose yourself over your IRA. But if you're not using an IRA to hold some of your investments, growing tax-free and doing everything personally, I would argue that you're just spinning your wheels trying to keep up with taxation. And that's why it's so hard to retire these days, because people just don't plan out accordingly. So we're going to talk about the different types of IRAs that allow you to have tax savings and that allow you to buy cryptocurrency here in the next couple of slides. But when it comes to making an investment, regardless, end of the day, what you should invest in is what you know best. Where's your knowledge base? I know a lot of people these days, and I've been at investment groups, and they talk my ear off about cryptocurrency, right? But they invest their IRA in stocks. Why? Because they don't know that they have an option to invest their IRA in crypto. And that's what this presentation is all about, to say, hey, if you understand crypto, or if it's an investment that you feel comfortable with, understand that you can invest in an IRA, and you use a company like NuView to do that. So again, any investment's a risk, but you want to understand your risk. And when you invest in things you're knowledgeable about, you stub your toe less in the long run. So what are the types of plans that you can own cryptocurrency in? Well, these are the plans that we have at NuView Trust Company that we allow our clients to take and trade on a platform like ErisX, which we'll get to here in a minute. You can trade crypto within personal plans. That would include your traditional IRA, and we say including rollovers. That's if you had an old 401k at a job you worked at, an old 403b. A lot of times when you leave that job, that pre-tax bucket of money rolls into a traditional IRA. So traditional IRAs can be invested in alternative assets like cryptocurrency, or if you have a Roth IRA, Roth IRAs are a great investment vehicle, especially for cryptocurrency, I would argue. Because with cryptocurrency, it's obviously so volatile. It has its ups, it has its downs. When it's up, it's way up. When it's down, it's way down. But when you're thinking of that, you want to think about, at what point do I want to pay the taxes? This is a big, big opportunity. If you plan it out right, if you strategize right, if you buy crypto at the low point, you can buy it in a Roth IRA. And when that swing comes back into the positive, all of your profit is completely tax-free, because the Roth IRA works the polar opposite of a traditional IRA. It's an after-tax account, and an after-tax account, the taxes have already been paid, and all your profits within that account, whether it's cryptocurrency or real estate, is completely tax-free for the rest of your life. So, but you could trade both. I'm just a big fan of the Roth IRA. If you're self-employed, you can also self-direct employer plans. That would include your SEP IRA, Simple IRA, or even your own Roth 401k. We call it here a solo QRP. That's a qualified retirement plan. These are great for people who are self-employed. The big difference with these plans is you can shovel more money in through contributions. So if you're really looking to maximize how much money Uncle Sam can't touch, and you want to make larger contributions than the personal plans, the traditional and Roth that we just mentioned, your employer plans based on your self-employment income can allow you to contribute close to $60,000 in some cases. But when you look at these plans, as I go through each slide deck of the plans, you want to look to yourself, how many of these plans can I have? Anybody with earned income can have a personal plan like a traditional or Roth. You can have many personal plans if you choose. But if you're self-employed, you have additional options for self-direction and additional vehicles that you can stash money away completely tax deferred or tax-free. We even have specialty plans, which are ones I love to talk about as well. These can be self-directed, and you can own cryptocurrency as well as real estate, as well as any other investment that you can hold in your IRAs, but you can also hold alternative assets in your HSAs, which would be your health savings accounts, and your Coverdell education savings accounts. And those are accounts that you set up for your kids or your grandkids that can grow tax-free for the purpose of paying educational expenses for your children. So the cool thing with these specialty plans that a lot of people just don't realize is, not only can you use self-directed plans to help save for retirement, you can also use self-directed plans to pay for current expenses, health expenses for your family, education expenses for your kids or your grandkids. So these are plans that have specific purposes to them. But again, when you look airplane view, how many of these plans can I have? You really maximize the tax advantages of self-directed IRAs when you have different IRAs that fit different purposes and they all grow tax-free. So for instance, I've got a Roth IRA, I've got a Roth 401k, I've got an HSA, and I've got Coverdales set up for my nieces. Again, they all fit different purposes and they all grow tax-free. And and it gives me more buying power when I'm investing in real estate, in notes, or even cryptocurrency. So those are the 7 types of plans that can be self-directed. And here's what we commonly see investors use self-directed IRAs to hold. We see a lot of clients that hold real estate, fee simple real estate, foreclosures, tax liens, apartments, real estate options, condominiums, land, commercial property. Any real estate you can own personally can be owned in a self-directed IRA. Again, it all comes back to what are you knowledgeable about? We have a lot of clients that choose to be more passive with their retirement funds. They like to be a lender. They like to finance deals, not find deals. So that could be financing deals to real estate investor, financing the loan secured by the property. That's actually one of the biggest investments that we see through NuView Trust Company. And you can even do unsecured notes. There's no limit as to how you do the note, but the note, the lender on the note can be your IRA, and all the interest that comes back can be completely tax-free. We also see clients invest in private companies, startup companies, limited partnerships, joint ventures, LLCs, trusts. And today we've got a very special guest. Let's talk about upcoming cryptocurrency. And these are the coins that they have at ErisX. And again, NuView clients, very important to know that through ErisX, you're allowed to buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. So we're going to get to this gentleman in a minute. And this is a good opportunity to segue into John Denza. Let me tell you how I've come to know John Denza. And John, if you're there, you can probably go ahead and share your screen and take yourself off mute. I met John probably one of the first weeks I started at NuView, and we hit it off right away. And the reason for me reaching out to John, or I think he reached out to us, was basically we were looking for a way for NuView clients to buy cryptocurrency without having to set up a checkbook control IRA LLC. Now, what that is when cryptocurrency first came out, clients were obviously interested in how do I use my retirement account to buy it? But because it was so new and because self-directed IRAs are such a niche product, there weren't many options for people to use their IRAs to trade directly on a trading platform. They had to set up these fancy structures. They had to go set up an LLC and have the IRA own the LLC, and then the LLC set up an account with a trading platform. So there was all these additional fees that clients were getting hit with, and clients were still doing it because they believed in cryptocurrency. But it hasn't been until much recently that trading platforms started allowing for IRAs to be investors. And this is where ErisX comes into play. And me and John hit it off right away. I started kind of inquiring about how their process works. And from all that I got from ErisX is they make it really easy to have IRAs as account holders, and they understand how an IRA works and that the client can't touch the money and that the money has to come back to the IRA custodian. So it made so much sense for us to start working with ErisX. We don't have a partnership. That's not how NuView works. But basically, ErisX allows for our NuView clients to have an option to trade with their IRAs, and we're going to talk about how that specifically works at the end of John's presentation. So, John, are you with me?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Nate, and thanks for the great intro.
Yeah,
I'm John Denza from ErisX. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here, and it's a pleasure to be part of the webinar with NuView Trust. A little background on myself. I'm, like I said, the Chief Commercial Officer for ErisX. Prior to my time here at ErisX, I've spent about 20 years in capital markets. I've had mostly in the exchange space, having worked at places like Island ECN, Instinet, NASDAQ for a couple of years, and also at BATS and CBOE for 11, 12 years. Always focused on options and equities in my sales and account management experience. But about 5 years ago, I started looking into crypto and doing the research, and kind of fell down the rabbit hole, to be honest with you, Nate. And I got sucked in, and with my previous experience in capital markets and market structure, I saw a lot of the parallels that had happened and what I've experienced over my 20 years. And I feel like I'm watching those things in fast forward with crypto, that being market data, routing and market structure in general. So I joined the team, and it's been a great fun time going forward and being a part of this great team. So let's dig in. I'd love to give an overview of just so your audience understands what crypto is, what blockchain and so forth. So let's start with crypto. I love to use analogies. I think analogies really help people understand different concepts. So let's start off. Bitcoin, as people know, is a store of value. So what does that mean? We think of gold as being a store of value. Then we refer to Bitcoin being a store of value. Well, let's use it from this example. Let's say one of your users goes to a Starbucks and they go to the counter, they go to pay for their latte, and they put a gold coin on the counter and say, I'd like to pay for my latte. Person behind the counter is going to look at them like they're crazy, and they're going to say, how am I going to make change with a gold coin? That's not technically possible. So let's reverse it. Let's say they went there, and most of your users probably have the app for Starbucks on their phone. They go to the counter, they don't reach into their wallet to get cash. They pull up the app, they take a picture of that barcode, boom, it deducts it from their checking account at Chase or Wells Fargo, whoever it may be. Well, that's similar to what happens with crypto. If you have Bitcoin, you put it in what's called a wallet, similar to what you'd be putting your money into an account at a bank. And you would do the same thing. You'd be able to go to the counter, be able to scan the information for your account, and they would deduct the amount of Bitcoin possible requiring for the transaction. And to take it a step further, people always are concerned like, oh, if I try to purchase crypto, if I try to buy Bitcoin, it's trading at $30,000. It's way too expensive. It's not. It actually, you can divide. It's divisible by 8 decimal places, crypto. So you could buy fractions of a penny of crypto technically. And that's the beauty of the product itself. So as it gains value, it'll still be able to be divisible by 8 decimal places. So that's an overview of Bitcoin and it being a store of value. So let's dig in. How about blockchain? People wonder, they hear this concept, it's on the blockchain. We keep hearing about people, adding blockchain capabilities. Blockchain in a very simple explanation is, think about people that use an Excel spreadsheet. Typically right now, you do something on an Excel spreadsheet, you save the data, you send the file to whoever else is going to work on the data as well. What if you had an Excel spreadsheet that the whole universe of people can see in real time? So that if I'm making updates to the spreadsheet, Nate's making updates to the spreadsheet, everybody in the universe can see what's going on. And when I make those updates to that spreadsheet, to the blockchain, those changes in the history of those changes are immutable. What does that mean? Nobody can ever go back and change the history. They're there forever. In its simplest terms, that's what blockchain is. Now, I described Bitcoin, and people have also probably heard of Ethereum. Ethereum is technically called a smart contract. What does that mean? That means in real simple terms, means if I do this, then this will happen. So let's use this as an example. You're at a hotel, you get hungry in the evening, you decide you want to go get a candy bar. You go to the vending machine, you see the Kit Kat in there. You know what? I'm going to purchase the Kit Kat. You put in $1, hit A3, the Kit Kat doesn't fall to the bottom of the machine. You're wondering why. Well, the Kit Kat's $1.50. You put in a procedure, you said, if I do this, but you didn't complete the procedure correctly because you didn't put the $1.50 in. You add another 50 cents, next thing you know, boom, the Kit Kat bar drops to the bottom. That's a smart contract in its simplest terms. To take it a step further and thinking about it from a bigger picture standpoint, think about if most of your users have probably gone through a house closing or a property closing, and the level of paperwork and requirements that are going to be part of the process. Well, think about if you could actually capture that into a smart contract where I could have a relationship with a peer that's willing to lend to me, and I can almost technically remove the bank, or even take it to the point where, when you go to do a closing, you have to worry about, your taxes that are going to be paid, escrow, title check. What if you could actually capture all that into a contract and simplify and streamline it? And then you remove that human element, and then you eliminate the possibility for failure too. And if you're not having to worry about all these additional pieces along the way, you reduce the friction and cost too. So you could technically actually do a closing for a fraction of the cost and probably faster. And you're not going to have the human error element also. So It's basically a quick overview of blockchain, smart contracts, and Bitcoin being a store of value. With that being said, I'm going to dig right into an overview of ErisX. So I'm going to share my screen just a second here. Hopefully everybody can see my deck. I assume yes. So let's dig in. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of ErisX. And ErisX was founded in, I would say, 7-8 years ago. And what we did when we founded the company was they created an interest rate swap futures product. That interest rate swap futures product, when you create that product, you actually have to create a or go to the CFTC and petition them for a DCM. What does that mean? It means you can operate a futures exchange. So the original investors went and got the CFTC and obtained a futures exchange medallion. But what they were doing was they were clearing these futures contracts through what has to be done is a DCO, a derivative clearing organization. And the one that held that DCO was the CME. So we fast forward, end up licensing the IP to the CME, and we're left holding this futures exchange medallion, which was a pretty big feat to go to the CFTC and achieve that. So the original investors were part of the cryptocurrency industry. So those names included CTC, DRW, and they recognized that for the industry to mature and be successful and for there to be institutional adoption, you need to have compliance, transparency, and regulation. So they went out and decided that, you know what, it would make sense to develop or launch an exchange that accounts for those requirements. So to kick it off, they went out and built a great cap table. Cap table includes names like Susquehanna, Virtu, which is a publicly traded prop trading firm, I mentioned Cumberland. Also on the miner side, I'll dig ahead here. Let me just jump ahead to the different, these are our investors. So we also had Bitmain, which is a very large miner, join the cap table. DCG, which is in the crypto native group. Your users have probably heard of the tracking stock GBTC. They're the ones that actually developed that tracking stock. And then Consensus, the original founders of Consensus, were the people that created Ethereum. On the exchange side, we had SIBO, CME, and NASDAQ join us. But based on my capital markets experience, I recognize the importance that you want to have a healthy trading ecosystem. You know, it's great to have people like Susquehanna and Virtu and DRW involved because they're going to provide deep, tight markets and improved execution quality to retail participants that are going to be coming into trade. So when I found out that Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, and TradeStation decided to make an investment in ErisX, I was really excited about the opportunity. Fidelity and TradeStation are very active on the platform right now. So let's jump ahead here. These are the different coins that we list right now: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, and USDC. We actually have plans to list an additional 10 to 12 coins by year's end. So we'll be rounding out our listing shortly. Jumping ahead to the trading interfaces. These can be accessed through the web over your desktop. The first is our exchange member portal. The portal actually shows you your different balances between the coins and US dollar. And then also on this screen, which is highlighted in the center there, is the quick trade ticket, the quick trade widget, I like to call it. So this is for people that don't want to be more advanced and go into a full-blown trading UI. What they could do here is, if you feel comfortable with it, you could say, for examples here, let's say I have $5,000. I want to purchase as much Bitcoin as possible with that $5,000. You would actually put the dollar amount there. You could see that they have $1,000 there as an example. You would put it in. It would prompt you with another screen saying this would be the amount of Bitcoin you would acquire right now at this price. And then you would hit submit, and then you would acquire the Bitcoin. Also on the screen, we give you the ability to download your trade executions as well. So let's jump ahead here. I'm just showing, this is another example of the exchange member portal, but we've taken it a step further and we've made it available on your users' mobile devices. We don't have an app as of yet, but the portal is actually sized to accommodate different operating systems. So let's jump ahead here to the trading UI. This is our full-blown trading user interface. Pretty straightforward. In the left-hand side, as your users can see, is the order entry field. If you go in there, you could put in your orders. Also, if you roll your mouse over the offer or the bid price. It'll actually auto-populate the order entry ticket there too. So where my mouse is right now is the time and sales. Also off of that into the middle is charting. And then all the way to the right is the trade history. These are the orders that are coming in and the executions we're seeing. At the bottom of the screen where it says no rows to show, if you were to have working orders or executed orders, you'd be able to see them in the blotter down below. And then off to the left, just below the order entry ticket, would be the positions that you currently have with your coins and US dollar. Another screen just to show you what it would look like on your mobile device. The tech team has done a great job sizing it, and the views are great in the sense that you've got your first toggled window here with the order entry. At the bottom, you can see the different windows that you can open up: your order book, your history, your charts, orders, and watch lists. So when you click on the charting, that's the middle one, and then you've got your order book on the screen to the right there. Let's jump ahead here. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on at ErisX is regulation. We take it very seriously. So for example, we operate a spot and a futures exchange right now. Both are regulated by the CFTC. Our exchange rule filings are with the CFTC for both. If you were to look at, let's say, a Coinbase or a Gemini, they're strictly focused on, I would say, spot trading. If you look at the CME or the ICE is backed, they're either cash settled futures and physically settled futures. With ErisX, we're actually covering both. We're actually covering spot and futures trading too. So we're regulated on the federal side, and then also on the state level, we actually have 51 MSBs. What does that mean? It means that I can conduct customer business in 51 states right now, including the New York BIT license, which is extremely difficult to attain. I would say in the last year that we've acquired our BIT license, maybe only one other firm has been approved since then. And then also, just to go back to the timeline. So when I said earlier, just going to scroll back here, just wanted to give a little more context to the history. So we launched a spot market in, I would say, April 2019. And then soon after, we got from the CFTC an approval to operate our own DCO, which is to clear futures trades. And then in the December 2019, we actually launched our own proprietary trading technology. So we do not outsource our trading and matching technology. And we also launched, I would say, the physically settled futures at that point too on Bitcoin. Over the year, I mentioned all the MSBs we went after and acquired. And then I would say the tail end of last year was actually focused on our margin application, which we submitted to the CFTC, and we're working closely with the regulator right now. Let's jump back ahead here. So we talked about the regulatory structure. We talked about the CFTC. Here's just an example of all the states that we have our money transmitter licenses. Virginia is pending, and we hope to have them very shortly. And then lastly, just wanted to show some areas where you can find additional information about ErisX. So if you went to erisx.com, ErisX Insights, and at ErisX Digital. And with that being said, here's my contact information. For those that have any questions or would like to learn more about ErisX, I'll also share that information with Nate later on too. So with that, I'm going to switch off here. And then I just wanted to share some other information about ErisX and about the space in general. So, when we talk about crypto, we think about, I like to focus on where the mass adoption is. Where do we see the growth within the industry? And it's pretty amazing. You look at places like, before we dig into that, I want to cover one topic. So some users always worry about volatility within the space. They think about, I see these wild gyrations in Bitcoin. It's not I don't feel comfortable trading in the asset. Well, I always like to use the example and compare it to Tesla. Tesla in March of 2020 was trading at $85. Without the split, it actually ran up to $4,000. If you look at that split, it was like a 5-for-1 split. In February of this year, it was $800 times the 5 is $4,000. We're looking at a 47x increase in the price of that stock. Over that same period, we've seen Bitcoin pull back, but over that same period, we saw the rise in Bitcoin go from, a price of 6,300 to 60,000. So we're looking at a 9.5x increase. So when people worry about the volatility of the asset class, here's a perfect example of an equity that actually traded with a more volatility than the asset class of Bitcoin. So there's one example. I also like to focus on different institutional participation. I know some of your users have probably been reading about Fidelity. They're one of our investors, but they've also decided, they've got a tremendous brand recognition, but they've also made the mention that they have plans to file on a crypto ETF as well. There are multiple filings right now with the SEC on that front. And then we also look at, for examples, Goldman Sachs is building out a trading desk. Morgan Stanley is making products available that people can have availability to crypto. But another telling sign is Bank of New York. Bank of New York is the largest custodian in the world. They've got 41 trillion in assets under management. And they've actually publicly gone out and said that they're going to make the custody of crypto available to their clients by year's end, which really is a telling sign of the growth of the industry. But the one piece that I think is really impressive and gives people an understanding of the space is, I think that a pivot point was when PayPal got involved. PayPal, prior to PayPal saying that they would actually support cryptos, there were 100 million crypto wallets ever created. Overnight, 350 million people soon had access to crypto, which just is amazing. You basically 3.5x'd the number of users that have access to crypto through that partnership that PayPal had created with crypto. So lastly, if you think about it, there's Bitcoin's only going to have 21 million Bitcoin ever mined. So there's a limited supply of Bitcoin. And if you factor in some of the other pieces there, maybe people lose coin along the way and something happens, let's say technically maybe there's 17 or 15 million that'll ever be made available. So if you look at it from that standpoint, and if all of your users put 1 or 2%, just like they put precious metals, a percentage of their portfolio in precious metals, we could see the price significantly increase from where it is right now. I mean, you look at reports from Citi and Guggenheim, and they're putting price caps of 300 to 350,000 on Bitcoin. So I know I covered a lot of ground, so I'm going to shift back over to Nate.
Thanks, John. Awesome information. I do have a question. I'll relay this to you, and I'm interested to hear the answer too. And again, there's always doomsday scenarios and things going on in the markets that you really don't have control over. I think the same is said for the stock market as well. But attendee asked, there seems to be a war on crypto by governments as governments are publishing their digital currency, which would compete with pushing their own cryptocurrency, it's saying, to compete with the existing crypto. What are your views of the bottom line on crypto in light of that?
I mean, listen, I think that what we're seeing right now is the space evolving from a regulatory standpoint. Yes, you have China that's looking at launching their own crypto, but you have countries, I think it was El Salvador in South America, where they're making it legal tender to actually have crypto. So I think that speaks volumes. And I think that where there are countries where there could be hyperinflation, they're looking at alternatives for a store of value. And that's why there'll be success. That's why if you look at South American countries in general, they have what's called coin rails, where they're, people are sending, US dollars, and the fastest and least frictionless way to send value, not dollars, but store of value is the movement of Bitcoin from one point A to point B. If you went into the bank, let's say you went into a Western Union and you tried to wire money to your relative in the South American country, it's going to take time, it's going to be expensive. And when you could actually do the movement of Bitcoin, it's got to do a certain amount of blockchain hops, but it could be done within less than an hour for fractions of a dollar.
Yeah, it is interesting on how, it is kind of a worldwide thing, and how, currency can be moved, through the globe, just by having, an account set up. So thank you for that.
One other point, Nate, I really would love to highlight is, if you look about the international movement of money, if they use the SWIFT system, SWIFT transactions can be anywhere to 1 to 2% of the total dollar value of the movement of the funds that you're moving. Here, we've had reports of examples of people moving 30, $50 million and it being less than $1 to move it and it being done in a matter of minutes. So it really speaks volumes of where the industry and the potential of it is going.
That's amazing. If you guys have more questions as we go on, I have a couple slides and I'm going to, John, I see your question. I'm going to tackle that here in a second. Thanks for your question. If you've got more questions for John Denza though, type them in the chat box or the Q&A actually, type them in the Q&A and John will answer them directly. Actually, give me that back, Maggie, sorry. I got the questions in front of me. So first, Phil, thank you for your question. He says, if an investor elects to choose a checkbook control LLC to invest in crypto with say an HSA or an IRA, can they do that? So I'm paraphrasing what you put there, Phil. The question is, yes, as a self-directed custodian, we never tell anybody how they need to buy it. We just tell them, here are your options to buy it. So most people are familiar with the checkbook control IRA. A lot of people set up checkbook control IRA LLCs for the specific purpose to buy crypto. So if you already have a setup like that, you can still use that same entity to buy crypto with ErisX or put any investment in there. So that's the benefit of having it. Now, the downside to anyone that doesn't have a checkbook control LLC is it is costly. I mean, it is an added fee that you have to account for by setting up the entity, re-registering the entity, managing it to a certain degree. It's going to take a little bit more time. So again, I'm not for or against it. It's an option, but thank you for your question. If you have a checkbook control LLC, you don't need to set up a separate checkbook control LLC just to hold your crypto. You could use the same one. John, your question leads me right into the next part of the presentation, which is, or John, sorry, I'm not saying John Denza. John is the guy asking the question. How do we set up an ErisX account and trade with our NuView IRA? So let me share my screen as well, and we'll get into this part of the presentation. Here's the steps, and it's very easy. ErisX has made it very easy for clients to take their IRAs or retirement accounts held at NuView and trade through the ErisX platform. So the first thing you have to do is you've got to have an account set up with NuView, and I have accounts in that with a plural there. Remember, you can use your traditional IRAs, you can use your Roth IRAs, your SEP accounts, your 401k, your simple IRA, your HSA, and your ESA, and they can all be set up to trade and buy and sell cryptocurrency through ErisX. So step one, open your accounts, and we've got IRA specialists on staff at all times to help you get your accounts established and also help you get your accounts funded. Funding them is really easy, but it is an important step. Once we get the account opened, you fund it. You tell us, how do you want to put money in there? Do you want to make a contribution to the accounts? Right now, we're in 2021. There's people that are making contributions for 2021. You don't have to wait until your tax filing deadline to make contributions for the current year. You can make contributions today. That's one way to put money in the account. A lot of people, most people I would say, are transferring money over to NuView though. They're transferring money from their Fidelity account. They're transferring money from their Charles Schwab account or their TD account. Transfers are really easy to process. You fill out a transfer form with us. We fax that over to your current custodian based on the amount that you request to transfer. That just comes right over to NuView within a couple business days. No tax reporting on that. You're just moving it from one IRA to another. And if you have an old employer plan, like a 401k or a 403b, a TRS, a TSP, if you've got an old employer plan that you now have access to, that can be rolled into an IRA, whether it's a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA or otherwise. So step one, open the account. Step two, fund it. Step three is you set up a trading profile with ErisX. And I have some slides here at the after to kind of show you how that's done. Once you set up a trading profile with ErisX, you reach out to us through our contact email, transactions@nuviewtrust.com, and we'll help finish the process with the purchase authorization and all the documents that you'll receive from ErisX. And I'm going to actually walk you step by step through this. It's very, very easy. And basically from that point, you can start trading yourself on their platform using your NuView IRA funds. So very, very exciting stuff. So here's kind of how it starts. Once you've got the NuView account open and the NuView account funded, you want to go to ErisX and hit sign up. You want to sign up and have an account. You're going to have some information that comes up. You're going to put your email address. This would be your personal email address. You set up your own password. Very, very self-explanatory. And you're going to come to a page like this: name, rank, and serial number. Okay, what's your name? What's your, very important as I go over this. Normally you would put your information for your IRA. In this case, it's really being validated by ErisX as an individual. So you're putting your personal information in here. On a future slide after this, after you've put your social security number, you've confirmed your social security number personally, a following page will come up and ask you if you're using your IRA or not. Okay. From that point, you're going to pick the drag down. You're going to pick the option. Am I using an IRA? Click yes. There'll be a drag down that lets you choose your IRA custodian. You choose NuView Trust Company, and that basically gives ErisX the opportunity to identify you as a NuView account holder. And from that point, you'll get an email with a member packet. I don't know if I'm saying that verbiage right, but it is a packet of information that comes from ErisX, and you simply forward that to us on that transaction email. You forward that to us, we'll complete it and sign it as the IRA custodian. And from that point on, we will fund it. Okay, so always remember, make sure you choose that it's going to be an IRA. Make sure you choose NuView Trust Company as your custodian, so ErisX knows that, hey, this is me and this is what I'm going to be using. And then from that point on, this is just a test page. You'll have the ErisX account, and once we fund it, you'll have the your account options there on the side. Now, you do have the option to add multiple accounts, so that's all done through us. So if you've got multiple accounts with NuView, if you've got a traditional, you've got a Roth, you've got an HSA, we can use all of those accounts to fund the ErisX account. They'll still be separated as different account types with different account numbers, but you have full control. That's really where the power in this comes. You don't have to set up any fancy entities. You're just working through us. There's no added fees by setting up an LLC or anything like that. And you have the freedom to buy and sell crypto at the drop of a hat. This also goes to another question that I saw on there, is how easy is it to exit a cryptocurrency position? I mean, I've traded crypto and it's very easy. I mean, it's as easy as buying and selling. John, do you have anything you'd want to add to that as far as
Yeah, I
how
would just
easy is it
say,
to exit a position?
just to dig a little bit more into John's question. So the way that we've set it up at ErisX is, if you're a self-directed IRA, we've created a closed loop system. What does that mean? That means that if dollars come into the system, come into the exchange, you purchase the crypto, then it stays in here in our wallet, in our custody at ErisX. If you decide that you want to exit out of that position, you would go to the trading UI or the quick trade widget that I showed you before. You would hit sell, then the movement would actually, you'd have US dollars in your account. And at that point, you could actually move the monies back to NuView Trust as well. With that being as said too, there's a little bit more flexibility with LLCs and solo 401ks, where we're going to be in the future allowing them to do withdrawal and deposits in their accounts.
Awesome. Yep. So yeah, very easy to use, very exciting that we are able to offer this option to clients. Some more information to kind of show you how the back end works, but it's really simple. Set up an account with NuView, fund the account with NuView, sign up with an account with ErisX, and then you contact us and we connect the dots. Really, really very exciting stuff. And here's just a kind of an example of the ErisX application that you get once you sign up for your membership. This just kind of gives you an idea what it looks like. It's really self-explanatory, nothing crazy, very, very easy process. Let's see what other questions that we have here before I move on. Let's see, can I invest my drop money into a NuView account? I'm not sure what drop money is. If you want to explain that or put that as an additional question, John McKinney. A lot of Johns on here, so tell me what drop money is, and I can help answer that question. Are there separate fees for ErisX? John Denza, you want to just touch on that?
Absolutely. So if you were to trade in your IRA account on ErisX, the transaction fee is 50 basis points. There's no additional account setup fees. There's no custody fees as of right now. It's strictly a transaction fee.
Yeah, and that's everywhere. I mean, I've bought and sold crypto myself. You're always going to have some sort of trading fee there. That's pretty normal. No additional fees on our end, though, that's specific to crypto. So it's very, very cost effective. What I always tell clients too is, if you're setting up a self-directed IRA and you want to maximize the dollars in your self-directed IRA to go completely tax-free, make sure when you fill out the application, you're paying your IRA custodian fees by credit card. That's the best way to maximize the ability of a self-directed IRA, because remember, we don't make commissions on your trades. We're not a licensed securities broker. We're not taking a piece of your profit when you make profit on real estate, notes, or cryptocurrency. The only fees that we have are the upfront fees to send money wherever we need to send it, and then administrate the assets on your behalf. So I always tell clients, when you fill out an application, make sure we're charging that to a credit card, because A, you're not taking tax-free dollars out of your accounts to just pay fees. You can maximize the opportunity to grow them in investments like cryptocurrency. And the administration fees for your IRA are the one fees you can pay for your IRA's investments. So you're always going to have fees. We got to keep the lights on somehow. The fees are, very, very minimal if you ask me, but pay those on a credit card. If you're self-employed, write it off as a business expense, but don't take it out of your IRA. Don't rob your IRA of its tax-free dollars. Another question from Phil: why should I buy crypto product like Bitcoin through ErisX versus an exchange like Coinbase? What's the value prop better than Coinbase? John, I'll let you take that one.
Great. Thanks for the question, Phil. I appreciate it. So first off, there's about 4 or 5 reasons, and the first one being customer service. Unlike competitors in the space like a Coinbase, if you have a question or a concern, we have a market ops team that's staffed 24/7. You can actually call them on the phone and they'll walk you through any of your questions and concerns, instead of being put through, messaging or emailing and hoping for a response in a timely manner. Also, our onboarding team is available 7 to 7 Monday through Friday, staffed, willing to work with you on getting your account open. And then also, if you're going to be looking at some of these other competitor exchanges, the away exchanges, you have to consider the time to market. So for us, we pride ourselves in turning around account approvals in less than 5 business days. The team is actually probably doing it in 2 to 3, to be honest with you. If you look at some of these other exchanges, you could have lead times of 6 weeks to 3 months to be able to onboard an account. And then also, if you look at, let's say, like a Coinbase, if you were to open an entity account, an LLC or a solo 401k account there, they're actually just instituted account minimums of, I think, a $500,000 deposit to open the account. So that's one example. The other reasons for choosing ErisX is the pricing. We're fair and transparent with our pricing. I said it's 50 basis points. There's no ancillary fees or hidden fees. If you were to look at some of the other competitors in the space, like a Coinbase or a Gemini or another one, they have a list of fees that you really need to look into the fine print to figure out what you're paying on a monthly or on each of the transactions, and even on a monthly basis. And then regulation is a big piece of it. I would say, like I mentioned earlier, we went out on the federal level and got a DCO and a DCM from the CFTC. We actually have our exchange rule filing for our spot and futures exchanges filed with the CFTC. And then we've gone out and got the BIT license. We went out and got 51 money transmitter licenses. We really think for the success of this industry, it comes down to regulation and institutional adoption. And then lastly, it's our backgrounds. You work with some of these other exchanges, they come from a technology background. The senior management at ErisX all come from a capital markets background. Our COO has launched probably 10 to 12 different exchanges through, involving equities and other asset classes. You look at, our CEO has worked at Barclays. He's worked at Citi, held, senior prime brokerage positions at both of those, has worked at Citadel. I personally, like I said before, have worked at multiple exchanges. I understand the space. And lastly, our CTO, who actually created the matching engine, was the person who created the matching engine for the CME. So we take regulation very seriously, and on our backgrounds as well.
Yeah, I'll add to that too. And this is, again, just from personal experience. I will tell you, to be completely transparent, when we went out and we looked for platforms to make it easy for clients to invest their IRAs into crypto, I reached out to ErisX, Gemini, Coinbase. I reached out to all the big ones at the same time. There's a reason John Denza and ErisX are on this webinar. It's because they were the first to act. They were the most reachable. I don't think I've ever sent John an email that he didn't respond to within 30 minutes. I cannot say that for some of the other guys. I won't name names, but there's been times that I've sent emails to some of of the big guys, and it's taken 60 days for them to get back to just a simple email. So again, how much of that do you want to deal with when you're trying to get your IRA set up to invest in these things? 60 days. The price could change dramatically in 60 days for you wait and just get an email from a company. So again, I understand that, Coinbase, Gemini, those are some of the big names. In my experience, I've had a hard time getting responses from the big names just because they're so big. And going forward, in talking with my transactions team, we've got it down pat where it's pretty much 5 to 7 days from start to finish to get all this set up for you. So if any clients are interested, current clients or prospecting clients, if you guys want to get set up, you could be set up really, really fast, both by NuView with our timeframes and ErisX on their timeframes. You could be ready to trade, almost within a week. So that says a lot to them, especially in a space like crypto where it's just so busy and so hectic. I do want to end with a couple announcements, and then we'll see if there's any last minute questions from the audience members. Again, thank everybody for joining, and thank you for the questions. Keep them coming in. For those of you who are in Florida, we're getting back to live classes. So this is really exciting. This is going to be tomorrow night. We've got a packed room already, but we could probably fit a couple more people if you want to come by. We're going to be hosting it at our office here in Longwood, Florida. There's our address. We're going to talk, it's going to be me teaching. We're going to go for an hour and a half. And we're going to talk about how to use self-directed IRAs to fund real estate deals. So really, it's just an opportunity for you to learn all the power behind the self-directed IRA, not just to fund real estate deals, but to just buy anything, really. So it's a good opportunity to network as well. So we've got a lot of clients that have already said they're coming. Again, our conference room is only seats so many. So make sure that you guys register for this, and we'll put the registration link in the bottom of the comments in our Facebook Live here in a minute. So that's going to be tomorrow night. We will have food, we will have beverages. So excited to get back to live classes. And then we also have a promo going on for the month of July. We decided to make it a monthly promo, not a weekend promo for Independence Day. If you use the promo code FREE21 right now, we're waiving all account opening fees. So if you're not a NuView client, but you want to be a NuView client, take advantage of that now. You could set up an account for nothing. You can move over money for nothing, and the only thing you got to pay for really is once you actually do an investment. Once you actually tell us to invest in something, and if it's investing in crypto, more power to you. And John's actually got his information, or he put his information there if you've got questions for him directly. So take advantage of that promo before it ends. But we'd love to have you as a client, and love to see if you've got some interest in investing in crypto or anything else. So we do have some other questions here. Let's see. Phil's got, why should I buy? Oh, I already answered that one. Sorry. John McKinney, deferred retirement option account, state employee teach. So yeah, so in an account like that, as long as you have access to move it, we have access to take it. So it really just depends on whether or not your current employer or whoever's administrating that pension plan for you allows you to move that. Or if you've got surrender fees or something that might be charged to you, you always want to keep that in mind. As far as us accepting it, we can accept any retirement plan, pension plan, anything that would be a pre-tax or an after-tax account that's in a retirement account form. If you can move it, we can accept it. And what I would do is just say, make sure you talk to one of my IRA specialists and talk about what type of account you have, so we can find out what type of account you need to open here at NuView to get that money moved into it. So another one from John. He's also has a Roth LLC invested in 8 or more CCs already. Would love to sell it and all invest. Would I have to sell all of it to invest my money with ErisX? If I understand correctly, you don't have to sell off all of your assets. Excuse me. You don't have to sell off all of your assets to invest in anything, really. Most clients actually just use a portion of their retirement account, especially when you're trying to diversify your assets. It's really up to you as to how much you want to invest, or how much of your portfolio as a percentage wise you want to invest in crypto or anything else. So again, there's no requirement for us as how much you use, but when you are moving money from, say, another plan and it needs to come to NuView, typically we have to move it as either cash or an in-kind asset. So if you've want more questions, John, I know you got a couple questions. Do me a favor, email my IRA specialist at IRA specialists with an S. That's IRA specialist with an S at NuViewTrust.com, and I'll get Alex to type in the email here in a second. So we'd love to have a consultation with you if you need some more questions over the phone. Angela, do you have a list of cryptocurrencies that are available a purchase via ErisX? We went over that before. John, why don't you just tell them once again, remind them what coins do you have at ErisX?
Absolutely. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin, and USDC, which is a stable coin. And then also we have plans over the remainder of the year to list another 10 coins as well. So they'll be more robust, our coin listings.
Awesome. And then does ErisX allow for limit orders?
Absolutely. We actually do not accept market orders. We accept limit orders. We also give people the ability to, we actually have some enhanced order functionality where your users can actually take advantage of pegging functionality on ErisX. What does that mean? That means that you can actually put an order in with an offset so that it actually pegs and moves with the price of Bitcoin, and it actually tracks with it.
And then Jim McSorley. Hey, Jim, good to hear from you. Glad you joined in. Jim asks, are there any plans to provide yield on crypto held with ErisX?
There are ongoing discussions internally right now about possibly expanding that in the future. But I just, it's a great point you bring up, Jim. As it kind of goes to what I was saying earlier about the volatility within the asset class. So previously, I would say 2-3 years ago, there was greater volatility, more movement in the price, and you could go to, let's say, like a BlockFi or a Celsius or some of the others that would actually offer yield. And those yields rates have actually come in significantly. I would say that right now, I think the BlockFi, is moved its rate down to, I think it's around maybe 4 or 5% for a half of a Bitcoin. And if you looked at the same yields about 5-6 months ago, they were about 6 or 7, maybe 5 or 6% for one Bitcoin or more. So the yields have actually been coming in, but long story short, we are looking at different options and it's part of our product pipeline, but I do not have a definitive date as of yet.
Awesome. Sorry, I just clicked the wrong button there. Thanks again for that, John. John, any final words as we wrap up? We went right under the nose. Perfect timing. Thank you again, everybody, for attending. Attendance way up from last week. I love that you guys are participating. Let us know if there's any topics that you guys want to hear going on into the future. I will tell you some of the things coming up as far as webinars go. Next week, we're going to have an actual NuView client talk about buying foreclosures in the state of Florida specifically. So if you're interested in how the foreclosure process works and how that might pertain to, using that opportunity to buy a property at a discount in your retirement accounts, we'll have Paul Henderson on with me next week. And then August will be a complete month of NuView education. We're going to talk about everything self-directed IRAs, everything from how to make big bucks in small accounts. So we're going to just dive into all the self-directed IRAs. So I'm really excited about that and talk about everything from buying real estate, buying notes, buying anything alternative, and how to use leverage. So that's coming up in August. So John, any final words that you want to give to the viewers out there?
Yeah, just want to highlight the point that, we really pride ourselves on customer service and education, and for the success of this industry, that's really, paramount for everybody to be able to feel comfortable with the space. So thank you for the opportunity, Nate. It's been amazing to work with NuView. We're really excited to work with your client base.
Thanks so much. And it's been really nice working with ErisX as well. Again, you guys have been very, very accommodating and very, very responsive, and I appreciate that. And that's why we're doing this today. So thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us. Join us next Wednesday for the #1 watched self-directed IRA educational platform from NuView Trust Company. See you guys. Have a good rest of the week.
Thank you all. Take care.